Narnia, Oz, Middle-earth. Today on the couch I decide, what is the best fantasy world to really live in? My teacher used to say that there is no greater world than the one we are living in. And as a kid sitting in the classroom, I thought this was unfair. We don't know what other worlds are out there. There could be ones with dragons, fairies, talking dogs. Those would be way cooler than this one. And who's to say what the greatest world is anyways? Well, today on the couch, I'm going to have to try and decide this. But before we can do that, there are the rules. As it turns out, there aren't that many fantasy worlds out there. And you might be thinking to yourself, Seth, that's impossible. I can think of several off the top of my head. But there's always a problem with it. Take, for instance, Wonderland.
Seems like its own world? Well, it's actually all Alice's dream. Middle-earth is a distant point in our past, according to J.R.R. Tolkien, as is Game of Thrones. Hyrule is a distant point in our future, and Wizard of Oz is complicated, but the book series suggests that it's part of our Earth, but we can only get to it if we're lucky. So it's amazing how many fantasy worlds aren't fantasy worlds.
To make it easier, I've decided to use the term fantasy world loosely to describe any place where there's magic, be it here on Earth or in a dream. Now, there are a few exclusions, though. Sci-fi worlds, futuristic worlds, even if they do have magic, and religious worlds like Heaven, Hades, Hell, Olympus. But that is it. With those rules, anything's possible. The first thing I decided to exclude is places that are dangerous to live in. But this is trickier done than said.
Take Middle-earth. It appears to be a brutal and violent place. Keep in mind, however, that J.R.R. Tolkien is showing us the worst moments from it. The Chronicles of Narnia illustrate this point. The creatures there say the world is peaceful, but the children are arriving at the most dangerous moments. Same could be said for Aragon. And Game of Thrones. It's as if a professor from our world is talking about our history, detailing the wars and battles, and forgetting the years of tranquility.
But what I realize is that it's irrelevant whether it's dangerous. Because these places would be boring to live in. Don't get me wrong, I would love to see a dragon or a hobbit. But after that, you're living the life of a person in the 1300s all the time. Shoveling hay and poop. Maybe you'd get to read a book now and then, but they probably would be expensive. So I decided to move more towards a Wonderland area. Nope, Wonderland is terrible. And Oz is okay.
There's nothing wrong with it, I guess. The trees grow three-course meals, so you never go hungry. The creatures there are pleasant enough. And there's a lot of magic to see. I guess I just don't trust these beings, if that makes any sense. It's hard to explain if you haven't read the books, but trust me, I'm not sure even you would want to live there.
Still, Oz is one of the better places to live. However, I know the one that you all are thinking of. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter. And I am not going to lie, it would be awesome.
Flight, invisibility, teleportation. These are only a few of the many magical abilities you would have in the Wizarding World. There's also many magical creatures, from dragons to fairies. And with the Death Eaters out of the way, life there would be survivable. You could make your own food and water with magic. And although fans of the series will hate me for saying this, I don't think you'd have to have a job.
I'm not going to pretend there aren't problems.
Wizards are really racist. But then again, people in our world can be at times too. Wizards have magical creatures that they allow their children to play with, but as a kid I was allowed to handle snakes, so same vein. Wizards have classes where they learn magic instead of grammar and math, but maybe magic's more important in their world, and I'm sure they learn grammar and math in their own way from the magic.
And that's the thing. For every problem, there was always a, well, maybe that could work. Yet, I decided Harry Potter's world wasn't what I was looking for. It wasn't a perfect world, although better than our own. So I was back to the drawing board. And after a lot of research, I think I found it. And it comes from the most unimaginable place in a story that most of you haven't even heard of.
The Blazing World. So unpopular that this was the only picture I could find of it online. Yet every story with human/animal hybrids is inspired by it, from PBS's author to BoJack Horseman. By the way, I would find it hilarious if BoJack's creators were aware of the Blazing World. I think that'd be funny. There's many creatures to see, from whalemen to giraffe people. And there's even a suggestion of magic, although the text is so archaic I can't be certain of that. What really sells me about this place is that all the creatures there are allowed to do the jobs that they love, and they don't have to do the jobs they don't love. Wormmen are philosophers, apemen are chemists, and birdmen are astronomers. What's more, this doesn't lead to an economic collapse. For some reason in this place, it has led to a revolution in thinking. Imagine being in a place where you could do what brings you joy. By the way, I wouldn't recommend this book because the language is so archaic, but if you're interested, it's written by Lady Cavendish, and it's free on Gutenberg.
So that is my choice. And what it came down to was finding a place where you can be who you are and be with the ones that you love. That is the best world that you can be in, even if you are surrounded by half human, half animals. Well, I hope we can all find that place.